Whether you drive a Volkswagen or you drive a Bentley, the road remains the same, doesn't it? Whether you speak on a Samsung or you speak on an iPhone X, whoever you're calling remains the same, isn't it? Whether you're flying economy or you're flying business, the destination where you're heading remains the same, isn't it? Whether you're wearing a simple fast track or you wear an Omega or a Rolex, the time remains the same, isn't it? It's quite amazing how we work ourselves up so much with increasing the standard of living that we forget to increase the standard of our life. And which is why wherever I travel, I make an appeal to people. There's nothing wrong with an Omega. There's nothing wrong with a Bentley. God bless you with that, and if you have it, drive it, no problem. But in trying to enhance and increase and improvise the standard of your living, please, do not compromise with the standard of your life. It's not the standard of your living that makes you happy. It's the standard of your life that makes you happy. And very often, we forget to give attention to those things that can truly make us happy. Which is why I always say things that I'm talking about, they have utility value, right? Not happiness value. Travel business class or first class. Good. Travel, no problem. Drive a Bentley, no problem. But in doing so, never, ever compromise on those principles that also improve the standard of your life. And therefore, I always say, some people are so poor, so absolutely poor that all they have is money. That's all they have. That's all they have. I consider that life a poverty-stricken life. If all you have is money, you're the poorest person in the world. Because there's more to life than money. And there's way more to life than what money can buy. And therefore I many times say, if you want to truly know how rich you are, drop a tear and see how many hands come forth to wipe that tear. Ladies and gentlemen, our happiness and our increased standard of life is not in things, it's in people. It's relationships. It's meaningful, heartfelt, deep bondings of love that bring fulfillment to the heart. It's those meaningful exchanges of love that we share with each other in relationships that brings true joy to the heart. And isn't it the greatest irony that something that brings in the greatest fulfillment, we very conveniently neglect in just running after increasing and enhancing our standard of living.
Isn't it amazing how many plans we make? And isn't it a reality? Not everything goes according to our plans. Even in the game of chess, we may come completely prepared with our strategy to win the game. We may even make our moves thinking that everything will go according to what we had decided and planned. The reality, however, is once we have made our move, we have no control over the moves that the opponent will make. We have no idea that the opponent has also made his or her plan. Whether it's the game of chess or the game of life, not everything goes according to what we had envisioned in our lives. This is exactly why there's a great need to go with the flow, to not be rigid about what we had decided, to learn to change our strategy as per the need of the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, adjust your plans, adapt to the challenges that life throws at you. adopt new strategies to match those of your opponent. Life, apply the greatest virtue of flexibility. Don't be rigid. Let's learn a very important lesson from the river Ganga as she emanates from the Himalayan mountains with her plan to move and reach her destination. She is not rigid. She is extremely flexible. As sometimes mountains throw challenges in the form of rocks on her path, she does not stop. She will either go above them or under them, around them, but she keeps moving until she reaches her destination. Whatever challenge comes on your pathway, just keep moving.
What is the most selfish one-lettered word? I, isn't it? Everything revolves around I. iPhone, iPad, iPod, and the man says, I paid. What do you do? Everything revolves around the I. And what does I stand for? I stands for expectations. I should be treated like this. I should be loved like this. I should be dealt with like this. I should be respected like this. I should be given these many marks. I should not be given this. You're all leading a life of super high expectations. Everything revolves around my opinions, my desires, my likes, my dislikes. I love this, I want this, I don't want this. I. You think life will be a very happy life when it revolves around I? From our childhood we have grown up like this. We've only learned to take, and everyone has to fulfill my expectations. Everything has to be up to my expectations. The more we lead a life of I, our I will always be frustrated. Because people don't exist in this world to just fulfill your expectations. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, the most selfish one-lettered word is I, which stands for expectations, and therefore avoid this word. How do you avoid this word? Be realistic in your expectations. अपेक्षाएं करने में कोई problem नहीं है, but understand that not everyone will fulfill your expectation. And secondly, avoid this word I by trying to serve others. You know why? Because when you want to be served, you're dependent on people. They may not serve you. When you want to serve, who can stop you? When you want respect, people may not respect you. But when you want to give respect, who can stop you? When you want to be loved, you may not be loved. But when you want to give love, who can stop you? When you want in charity, people may not give you in charity. But when you want to give charity, who can stop you? And therefore, learn to begin your journey from I to you. The more you want for yourself, you'll remain frustrated. The more you want to give, you will remain happy. So his question is, how does luck or destiny, what role does it play in victory or success? Right? Is it all hard work? Is it all destiny? What is it? Now, in my humble opinion, destiny is the situations that come to you, which are beyond your control. For example, you didn't choose your parents. Did any of you choose your parents? You were destined. That was destiny. You were born. ऐसा नहीं बोले ये मेरी बाप, ये मेरे माँ, मैं अवतार लूँगा इनसे. Have you ever thought like that? Never. Did you ever choose your looks? ऐसा नाक होगा, ऐसा कुछ. Do you choose? No one looks as good as their Facebook profile picture, and no one looks as ugly as their Aadhaar card picture. No one. No one looks like that. Correct? So situations are destiny. You didn't choose them. They came to you. If someone comes and insults me, I didn't choose it. It came to me. That situation is destined. But my response to those situations is my choice. Response is not destiny. What I choose is my choice. And when I choose it, that decides my future destiny. This is why they say man is the maker of his destiny, not situations. Situations will remain what they are, but how you respond to those situations is completely and entirely your choice. You have that situation which is destined. Now you have a choice to work hard, to cultivate that attitude. That attitude is not destiny. That attitude is a choice. And when you choose that attitude, hopefully victory will come to you right away. Even if it doesn't come to you right away, you have sown the seed that will pay back. The seed that is sown will certainly fructify. Now, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, or later. This is why persistence, sticking it out, is so much essential.
There was a king who had a great fascination and love for paintings. One time he decided to offer a very valuable prize to the artist who would paint a beautiful picture depicting peace. On the final day of the judgment, many artists brought their paintings with the hope of winning that valuable prize. The king looked at all the paintings and selected two in particular, and now he had to choose one out of the two paintings for the valuable prize. The first painting, a beautiful, calm lake with clear, transparent waters. The lake was a perfect mirror to the towering mountains surrounding it. Above it was the blue sky with white, fluffy clouds like cotton balls floating in space. Anybody who saw this painting thought it was the perfect masterpiece representing peace. The second painting had mountains too, rugged, dry, bare. Above these mountains, an angry sky, overcast with dark clouds, lightning streaks here and there, a massive downpour of rains, a rumbling, ferocious waterfall cascading down on one side of this bare mountain. Peace, thought the people who saw this painting. As the king looked closer, he saw behind this rumbling waterfall a branch of a bush growing out of a crack in a rock. On the branch was a mother bird who had made a nest, and within the nest was very peacefully, with great affection, feeding its little ones. Which one do you think did the king choose for his valuable prize? The second one. The king explained, peace does not mean to be in a place where there's no noise, where there's no trouble, where there's no hard work, where there's no trials, where there's no tribulations, where there's no difficulties. Peace means to be in the middle of all mayhem and chaos, and yet to stay calm, yet to stay focused, yet to make that inward journey. And isn't that the story of real life as well? Spirituality is the art of bringing us to that inner calm, to that inner peace in our real life, with all kinds of difficulties, troubles, and problems surrounding us. That is the meaning and definition of real peace.